Hello and welcome to SMARTpod from Smart Security Solutions. Today we're talking to Natalie Doran from Lytehouse. She's the CEO of Lytehouse. Lytehouse is headquartered in Singapore, and it provides AI-enhanced surveillance solutions for security and quite a bit more, and we'll find out more as we go into the presentation. So good morning, Natalie, and welcome to SMARTpod.
Morning, Andrew. Always a pleasure.
Right, now, first, I sort of got an insight into what you do when you spoke at our Securix seminar theatre back in June. And that's why I thought we'd do this and talk more about what Lytehouse is doing specifically. So just as an introduction, Natalie has an expertise in sales and business development and strategic partnerships across multiple tech sectors, in which she's driven growth and innovation for a number of years. And she was also one of the top 100 women nominated for the She Innovates Award in 2019 for her contributions to deep tech. So, Natalie, maybe we can just start off with a simple question first. Can you tell us more about Lytehouse, what you do, what your operations in South Africa are like, or are, and how the company was founded and sort of developed to the services you're operating today?
Sure. Happy to. I guess maybe I'll start with the latter part first. Where did we come from? As you can tell, I'm from the UK originally, but spent several years in Singapore building early stage companies, all, as you mentioned, with a deep tech and an impact focus. All of them moving across the businesses, strategic partnerships, sales, product development. And in 2019, I joined an accelerator program called Entrepreneur First in Singapore. And that's where I actually met my co-founder, Jean. So he is South African, and that's where obviously South Africa comes into the mix. He's from a family of small business owners, stores, butcheries, bakeries, the usual suspects. And his dad had been robbed 37 times at gunpoint just in his lifetime. Now, that's a bottle store in Ramfontein. So, that's a high risk business. So absolutely. So he had 16 CCTV cameras, 2 panic buttons, and an on response subscription. And still, his store was getting cleared out at 2 p.m. with the big guys with guns. So we really looked at this and couldn't understand why, when there's a billion CCTV cameras on the market and hundreds of millions of security workers, why people like his dad, who are investing in the technology and they're investing in the manpower, were not actually getting the assistance that they needed or a return on the investment that they were making. So that's where we really looked at the market and said, well, solutions must exist. They must be out there. And that's when we realized a lot of them are not built for markets like South Africa, number one. Number two, a lot of solutions are built for enterprise. It's not something that's easy to use, easy to implement, scalable, affordable, most importantly, for people like Jean's dad. So we thought, well, if we can't find it, let's build it. And that's sort of where the idea for Lytehouse came from. And so that was back in 2019, so almost on 5 years now, which is pretty exciting. And that was where we started the journey. See, well, if we can make enterprise-grade security and surveillance technology accessible and scalable in markets like South Africa, well, not only is there a huge opportunity, but there is a number of markets around the world that have been underserved in the same way. So that was sort of the genesis of the idea for Lytehouse. And so we're headquartered in Singapore, but our primary market is in South Africa. Don't need to give anyone any data as to why, but a huge amount of risk, but also a lot of challenging infrastructure as well. So if you could build technology that works in the South African market, well, now it'll work anywhere. So in short, what does Lytehouse do? I think of us as AI risk management for any camera. So we take any camera, any make, any model, even analog cameras, we process them through our own proprietary video analytics engine and machine learning models. And we essentially look for threats in that video feed, not only security now, but also health, safety, and operational risks. And I guess what really sets us aside is not only is this something that can be scaled and implemented across any existing infrastructure, but we're actually one of 26 companies that Google has selected to work with them on next generation technology, not just in the video analytics space, but video processing, and how we think about video and use video going forward. And so we've actually built the world's first context-based engine that we're then layering on top of our video analytics to be able to take all of that context that we get from our video clips and actually, auto-escalate or auto-dismiss those. So this is a powerful new leap forward. And it's something we're seeing a huge amount of impact to our customers in a number of different ways. So yeah, it's been a pretty eventful 5 years, let's call it that.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty impressive, especially to be part of that whole Google initiative. So, yeah, well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. What, in your opinion, makes Lighthouse different? Because I mean, there's lots of AI
Yeah.
and cloud-based surveillance things. So, what makes you different?
Yeah, I think the term AI gets battered around a hell of a lot, and particularly recently. And of course, that is your umbrella term, but there's so many different facets and different parts to it. I think what really makes us different is our innovation, our scalability, and our accessibility. I think those are the three key factors. So when we talk about innovation, that's when I'm talking about things like the Copilot. We actually launched it at SecureX about a month and a half ago, almost 2 months ago now. This is a Copilot for operators that is able to ingest information like a human being, understands what it's seeing in the scene, and then makes an assessment based on the context given for every single camera and site. A gun in a gun range might be usual, but is it a gun out of a holster in a certain area? This is where traditional video analytics has fallen down because it doesn't have the context and understanding of the site. You just ask it to look for X and it looks for X. Whereas where we're really flipping this on its head is how do we enable one operator to do thousands, not hundreds of cameras, by imparting the knowledge that people give to their operators or giving to their health and safety officers and encoding that into the system without having to know any coding whatsoever, just using natural language. So innovation is a big thing that differentiates us from other solutions in the market. And when we innovate, we're always thinking with those factors in mind: scalability and accessibility. How do we make it easy to use? How do we make it the right price point, the right bandwidth? Because all this amazing technology is fantastic, but if you actually can't scale it in the markets that you're in and you can't make it easy to use for customers, then you have a pretty cool piece of tech, but you don't have a product.
Okay. The whole idea about context and providing context is actually what's going to make the difference in AI and in all fields, actually. So that's quite
100%.
impressive.
100%. And, in our initial tests that we've been running, say, over the past few months, we are saving months worth of man hours, versus any traditional video analytics. That's your object detection, say, and versus competitors in the market. We're looking at an 82.5 to a 98% alert reduction versus your standard
Wow.
object detection. So, now you scale that to a control room with thousands of cameras. You're now again getting that incredible golden ratio of the number of cameras to operator, and doing it on the exact same cameras with the exact same manpower with the exact same systems. This is just an intelligence layer on top. So it's a pretty powerful, I say, next step in a reimagining of how we think video should be handled and processed when it comes to surveillance and risk. But also provides a lot of opportunities into new areas, which is something we're very excited about.
Well, my next question was going to be about Copilot, which you launched at SecureX. I
Yeah.
guess you've partially answered that, but anything else you want to add about what makes it so sort of revolutionary compared to, as you said, other object detection and things like that?
Yeah, I think there is a limit to what a human being can do. You imagine an operator has been sat on a 12-hour shift. It's 3 a.m. People get tired, people lose concentration, people go to the bathroom, and for us, it's not about providing a silver bullet. Oh, okay, AI is going to take over and you're not going to need humans when it comes to security. That's certainly not the case. It's not the case when it comes to any type of risk management. What you need is to remove the manual tasks, not replace the jobs. So instead of having somebody click through dog walkers and joggers and people in the warehouse going about their business, these aren't false alarms, but they're not real events. And the problem is the state of the industry at the moment is there's still hundreds of thousands of not real events entering control rooms. So if you want to grow and you want to scale that business, you have to invest in more manpower. And if you're someone purchasing security services, you're paying for that manpower ultimately. So for us, the huge boon here is being able to enable one person to do a much more efficient job, but also being able to filter out the noise, but also say, hey, let's go from live video to pre-escalated. This is something your operator may have missed. There's someone using a mobile phone near a moving forklift truck, for example. Being able to encode the modus operandi of the site, but also those compliance challenges or risks that you're getting on site. That's when you start to move from security companies just dealing with the perimeter and allowing them to tap into the inside of the site, which is something they've not been able to do before. So this for us enables us to impact their bottom line in two different ways. The one is obviously making their business much more efficient and scalable. But the other is new revenue streams. Risk management is take in data from sources, make an assessment, take an action. Whether it's security, health and safety, operational, whether it's the conveyor belt has broken down or there's a break-in. It's the same process. It just hasn't been done with the cameras before because there's not been a solution smart enough to be able to encompass all of these different variables. And that's where that context, that memory, that understanding is so important, because that's how humans make assessments.
Looking at the security markets in general, especially in terms of, remote surveillance stuff that you do, what's, before I ask the question, a lot of customers of security companies look more at price and get the cheapest thing possible.
Sure.
And as long as you can say you have security or monitoring or whatever. But what are the
Exactly.
key metrics that you think security providers or the companies, their customers, companies investing in security solutions, should be looking at when deploying this kind of advanced technology?
Yeah, so I touched upon it briefly, but as a security company or security provider, your key costs are operational. It's your manpower. It's the labor costs that you're having to deal with. And as I mentioned previously, a real key metric that we focus on in every aspect of the platform, in the reporting that we provide, and as well as when we think about product development, is how many cameras per operator can you do without losing service quality? And it's that little bit at the end that everybody forgets, because I can come to you, Andrew, of Andrew's Security Inc., and say, right, how many cameras do you have? How many operators do you have? Well, I have 1,000 cameras and 2 operators. So my camera to operator ratio is 500 an operator. But how many events does Andrew Security Inc. miss? How long does it take operators to get to an event? What is the SLA that you have with your customers? What's your contractual obligation? And these are important factors that right now aren't being tracked, because you've got operators sitting on different platforms, different screens by different manufacturers. You've got a variety of different third-party systems. And it's almost impossible to aggregate all that information together and say, what is our standard? We expect our operators to deal with an alert within X time frame. And whether you are providing security services or you are purchasing security services, ultimately you are buying or selling time. That's it. You are buying and selling somebody's time. So how do you get more out of that time? And that's really the crux here. So we provide things like camera operator performance reports, which enable you to track, the performance of your operators, best day, worst day, how many alerts they manage per day, per week, per month. Very simple calculations. You can start looking at, what does each alert cost us as a business? And that's where you should be getting away from this shopping list approach and this, race to the bottom on price when it comes to solutions. If a solution is cheaper, but you have to hire 3 more people because it generates a huge amount of alerts, is it actually cheaper? You have to think about the control room as sort of an organism with very, very many different moving parts. If I have to send a patrol vehicle out every time there's a false alarm, well, is it actually cheaper? So having this holistic approach is really important, and you kind of only get that visibility when everything is in that one system. And that's certainly something that we really focus on. And now when you layer context-based alert mitigation and management, that's now a whole different beast and sort of gives that on steroids. But other key metrics, and kind of links to this too, if you are looking at security services as time, what is your revenue output per camera or per operator? You've got those customers, or you've paid for that operator. How much revenue can you drive through that particular operator? So the way you do it is obviously reducing the amount of nuisance alarms. But if you can create new revenue streams to that business, well, now that one operator could be servicing not only more cameras, but different industries, more value-based pricing models. And ultimately, you're increasing your bottom line in multiple different factors. One, cost saving, but one, revenue increasing. And these are the kind of conversations we like to have with our customers, because that's really how you grow sustainably. And that's how you beat the guys down the road who are 50 Rand cheaper. And I think if you're purchasing security services, you can't lie with data. People could obviously manipulate data, but numbers are numbers. Think about Jean's dad. He was paying for security services when it actually hit the fan. Did anybody show up? It's all very well and good going for the cheapest person, But if it's your family's life at risk, or your assets, or your personnel risk, these are really key factors to consider. So if your security provider can give you the data around the alerts that they're managing, their response times, that can give you comfort that they're actually delivering the service that they say they're delivering. It's not just a guy in a laptop and a buggy, And that's, there's a lot of providers out there like that, and certainly, cost saving, we know in this economy is important for everybody, but, buy cheap, pay twice. And sometimes what you pay with, particularly in a market like South Africa, could be a lot more substantial than just monetary. So I think those are definitely some key factors to consider. And as I sort of mentioned, the only way to get that kind of level of insight is aggregation, deep reporting, and having the right kind of system to be able to proactively and preventatively manage those risks. And I say that's something that we work really hard on, but we feel like for the industry is certainly where it's going.
That's a very comprehensive answer. Thank you. To wrap things up, we're seeing a lot of advances in AI, and I mean, there's a lot of hype in the market about it as well, how it's applied to the security market and other markets. So can I ask you what we can expect to see coming from Lytehouse? I mean, the whole concept engine is amazing, and I'm sure that's going to take a lot of work still, but what can we expect to see from you guys over the next year or 2 or 3 that impacts security, as well as you already mentioned, health and safety and operations, other sort of areas of the business?
So, for Lytehouse, a big focus for us is obviously the co-pilots. It's been a huge jump in innovation for us, and obviously for our customers. We're going to continue to fine tune these, and also, really dig into the different applications and crystallizing them for logistics, for retail, and for us, it's about compounding that value for our customers. Once we're into those sites, being able to layer more and more and more types of visibility and risk management to become a one-stop shop. That's the goal for us. But it doesn't really stop there. I mean, what the co-pilots are showing us is that there can be a virtual workforce in your CCTV camera. And that's exactly what we're trying to build. And removing those tasks and allowing the real manpower, the actual labor, to provide 100 times more value. That's a big focus for us over the next 12 to 18 months, and expanding that, as I said, not only just vertically, but also geographically for us as a business. That's going to be importantly for us. And there are a few big steps coming. I won't say too much, but definitely check in with us before the end of the year. We're always very, very quick to move. We have a really incredible team. And as I say, we are at the very, very forefront of what is possible. So with the current feedback and some new development pushes, Lytehouse will be a very different product over the next 12 months. And that's what keeps it exciting for us and what keeps it exciting for our customers. And obviously having conversations with people like yourself, Andrew, this is a fast-paced space. And, security companies are having to become tech companies. They're more technology powered now than ever, and it's going to get even more so. So that's where our role is to provide them the tools. We're not the security experts. We're not the health and safety experts. We just need to give the experts the right toolbox to make those decisions. And happy to say Copilot is just the first step in a much, much bigger vision.
That does sound exciting. Just on a local note as well, I spoke to James Dalton, the ex-Springbok rugby player, last week, and he mentioned Lytehouse as being one of the partners in his My Safe Space initiative. Do you want to quickly just tell us what you're doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a fantastic initiative, really, with a heart and soul, mission is protecting our kids while they're at school. And I think it's something everyone can identify with. But I think something that's pretty shocking, and I think a stat that James has spoken about a few times, is an over 200% increase in kidnappings from schools in South Africa since the start of this year. So for us, our part in this is to provide that intelligence layer to those existing cameras and to these poles that are being erected outside of the schools, to be able to provide not only more proactive security for schools and a full sort of holistic solution, but also start to work towards, what should the standard be? what should the standard, what should the minimum security standard for a school be? And how do we help them to get there? Whether they are, one of the top schools in the country or not, every kid should be safe in their learning environment. So this is really spearheaded by James Dalton. And so he's really driving it from the front, and extremely passionate entrepreneur. And we're one of a handful of key providers in the market, happy to say, working with absolutely the best in all of their fields to work together on this solution. And we hope to scale this across every school in South Africa, over the next couple of years. So yeah, very, very powerful initiative. And this is where for us, the power of this new technology comes in, where if we can tailor a solution for every single school and allow them to have a system that they can use overnight, I mean, this is a real game changer. So very, very exciting for us. Please do look out for My Safe Space.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing something with James on that as well. So.
Oh, fantastic. There you go.
Okay.
He's very, very passionate.
Yes, he is. Absolutely. Natalie, thank you very much. That was very insightful.
Thank you, Andrew.
Crammed a lot of info into a short few minutes, but I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. And thanks for joining us on SmartPod.
Awesome. And if anyone wants to learn more about us, obviously, please, you can reach out on LinkedIn, Natalie Doran. You can reach out sales@lytehouse.io, or just, hammer Andrew, and I'm sure he'll get the message across. So yeah, if you'd like to learn more about us, please do reach out. I say we're always looking for new partners.
Cool. And I will include those links and emails and whatever in
brilliant.
when we send out the podcast.
Okay, awesome.
Great stuff. Thanks, Natalie.
Andrew. Appreciate it. Bye.
Cheers.